Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 18 of Surrounded by Bourbon with me, Phil Crawford, aka Causeway Whiskey, and today we are looking at Jameson Triple Triple. This is the latest release and this is the Chestnut Cask finish. So Jameson, probably the most famous Irish whiskey brand around the world, and I will put my hands up and say that the regular Jameson release is not my favourite whiskey in the world. But I understand why it is so popular. It's very light, it's approachable, it's very easy to drink, and it mixes well too. And also in most markets, it's actually relatively cheap. So you may be wondering, what makes the Triple Triple so special? Well, it's a nod to two things. First of all, Jameson is famously triple distilled. So it is a combination of single grain whiskey and single pot still. The grain component being distilled in column stills. So it's very grain forward. The pot still component is much less. I'm not sure exactly what the ratios are, but it's not particularly high. It's probably like 70-30, something like that. So in amongst our little nerdy friends on a group chat one day, one of the questions was, how can Jameson call their brand triple distilled, because it's actually quite easy to make grain whiskey with just a single distillation through a column still, such as the likes of Still Austin do that in Texas. They just use one distillation run through their 42-foot column still to produce their bourbons and their rye. Other distilleries do it twice, and Jameson do it 3 times. Now, to get clarification on this, I reached out to a distiller at the Radaman Estate Distillery, the owner of Short Cross Whiskey, David Boyd Armstrong, and he had been down at the Middleton Academy where they really explained the process. So Jameson do use 3 column stills. The first is the analyzer column, and that's where it's really the stripping column, so it removes all the alcohol and congeners from the wash. The second column still then carries out what they call hydro extraction, where water is added to the vapor in the column to allow a clean separation of the volatile compounds and oils. So essentially what they do is they drop the ABV with the water and then they distill it back up again. Thirdly, then they have the rectification column, and that's where the hearts are drawn off from the fusel oils, and the fusel oils are then cut off as the tails. So that's the first part of the triple. The second part of the triple means how many casks this has been matured in. So the regular Jameson edition is matured in bourbon casks and some sherry casks. On top of that, this has extra maturation in chestnut casks. And the chestnut casks first came to my knowledge through another Middleton product, which is the Method and Madness range, and they had a single pot still that was bourbon and sherry cask matured and then finished in chestnut casks. And this finished chestnut, they say, will enhance the vanilla notes, the caramel notes, and the cocoa notes that you will get. So, is this better than regular Jameson? Well, before we get into the notes and the nose, I'll just go through some of the extras here. So this is a maturation of bourbon, sherry and chestnut casks. It is 40% ABV or 80 proof. This bottle cost me $28, just over $28 at Publix Liquors. So that works out about £21.50 or 25 euros if you're in Ireland or Europe. So it's not terribly expensive. But anyway, yeah, let's get into the notes and see how the new Triple Triple fares. So nose-wise, you do get an element of the floral grain coming through, but it's not like paint stripper. But yeah, it's floral, but it's not aggressive. So you can tell the grains there, quite grain forward. But then you get coconut macaroons, there's some pear, there's some green apples there. Then there's also vanilla custard, there's cinnamon, and there's also some like Nutella spread, so that hazelnut and chocolate spread. So nose-wise, pretty good going so far. Definitely for me a cut above the regular Jameson. So let's try the palate and see how we get on here. So considering the ABV, body-wise, this is actually surprisingly decent. Not quite medium, but it's not watery thin either. It's a very sweet arrival with candied ginger, there's vanilla, there's toffee apples even. There is definitely cocoa powder there. Not quite dark cocoa, but definitely cocoa powder. There's a lovely peppery spice to this as well. And a nice amount of oak, so it's not terribly tannic. And again, on the back there is a little bit of the pear and the apple that is kind of associated with Jameson. So let's see what we can get on the finish after another little swig of this. So it's not a crazy long finish, not super short, so it's kind of halfway between short and medium. But again, there's that lovely ginger and pepper kind of heat with ginger nut biscuits, a little nutmeg, and just a little bit of cocoa at the back as well. So what would I score this? Well, I am pleasantly surprised by this. When I first opened this on the neck pour, which shouldn't really be a thing, but neck pours do tend to be a thing, I wasn't really feeling this whiskey. As I have went through the bottle, I think it definitely has opened up a little bit. It's become a little more expressive. So I am going to give this a 5 out of 10. I think this is a very worthy addition to the Jameson lineup, and it is definitely much better than the regular core Jameson. As I say, I'm not really a fan of normal Jameson, but this definitely just raises the bar a little bit. It's a very approachable whiskey again, very easy drinking, but there is just that added level of complexity to kind of make it a little bit more interesting. Still not as good, in my opinion, as the Black Barrel, which I think is a really good blended Irish whiskey. But yeah, for the price of $28, I think this is very good whiskey indeed. You know, probably just going back to the scoring thing, just because it's scored a 5 out of 10, I know that means it's kind of average, but just remember that anything 5 and above means that, in my scoring system anyway, that, you know, it can happily have a place on your shelf and you'll not be overly disappointed. Anything below that, you're starting and getting into flawed territory and probably a whiskey that you don't really want to have on your shelf. So would I replace this? Absolutely. I would definitely buy this over regular Jameson again, and I think it could be pleasantly surprising to people who kind of maybe write off the normal Jameson as being a little bit too light. Anyway, that is my thoughts on the Jameson Triple Triple. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you have a great day, great evening, and please tune in the next time. Slàinte!